So we pretty much, I mean, if you look at it, we've pretty much done everything we can with 3 notes. First we flatted the 3rd, and then for the other one we flatted both of them. We flatted the 3rd and the 5th. What else can you do? Well, you can raise the 3rd of one, right? Okay? And that becomes like a sus chord, a sustain chord. You ever see that SUS on some chords? And here's the difference in the sound. Here's a G chord, here's a sus chord. And that's a very airy kind of, not really locked in type of sound. This is like very grounded, but this is more like. And what you're doing is you're raising the 3rd up a half step. So in the key of G, you remember your major chord is G, B, and D. What you're going to do is you're going to play a C note. Now where do you hear that? Like folk music uses it a lot. Here's something you hear. And all I'm doing is, this is the 3rd, this is in the, I'll do in the key of C so we can see it. So in the key of C, we're going to go 1, 3, and 5 is C, E, and G. So if we want to make a sus type noise, we'll just change the E to an F. And it gives it that kind of like airy kind of sound.
That's the suspended.
That's a sus, yeah. And you use those. I don't know. I use them at the beginning of some songs. I'll just like go. Build up a little tension. When you see, then it goes back into like the thing. Okay, but you'll see them in things, and then also in folk songs you'll hear a lot of people think this is cool sounding, and it is kind of. So what I'm doing here, we'll start on the ukulele. See if we can find what I'm doing. Let's find our C chord. Where's our E note?
Use the second one and just. There they go.
It's kind of cool. You can mess around with it. So
It's just the first string on the second string up. Your C chord.
yeah.
And then it's just pressing the second string up as first fret.
That's your F. Okay. E, F. This one?
Yeah. So you're gonna change.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna change your E note to an F note.
Because you're raising it.
There you go.
Okay. And then there's also a sharp 5, but we're not gonna go into that. So. I mean, well, sharp 5 is basically you're gonna take the 5th note. If you see a sharp 5 on something for whatever reason, that means the 5 gets sharped, right? So, if you're in the key of C, that means you're going to find your G note and make it. But now we're going to talk about adding to the chord structure, and that's when we're talking about doing 7ths, 9ths, 13ths, 6ths, seconds, all that kind of stuff. Okay, when you see it on your music, it'll say C major 7th, or it'll say C7, or it'll say C6, or it'll say C5, C2, C13. Okay, and so what happened was they wanted to start adding what I call they're kind of called color notes, or if you want to call them flavor notes or whatever. So the basic chord might be kind of boring. Okay, so maybe you want to put like a little something on it, okay? Or okay, so what you're doing is you're going to add a little color to the thing, and they're using different types of music. So we'll start off with the most common one, which is used in the blues a lot, and that's what's called the 7th chord. Now, don't ask me why they did this, but there's 2 types of 7ths. Okay, well, we'll go to the key of C. There's a C7, right? And there's a C. What do you normally see it as? This?
MJ.
Or you might see it as C, like that.
MJ.
MJ.
Okay. Sometimes they write it like this. Okay, but the C7th is always written like that. So now what we're doing here is there's two types of sevenths. The actual seventh is the seventh note of the scale. So in the key of C, 1, 2, we're going to C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. The seventh note of the scale is a B. But really, I don't know why it is this way, but it's just the way that it's just the language of the music, so just accept it the way it is. C major seventh is actually the seventh that's in the major scale, and the regular C7 is a flatted seventh, a B flat. So there's a difference in sound. A major seventh is going to sound like this. It's kind of a pretty sound. If you're doing it, let's do it on you, yeah. So, how I remember how to find sevenths is I just, whatever the name of the chord is, a C, rather than think C, D, E, F, G, A, B, 7 notes up, I just think backwards. If C is the name of the chord, the major seventh is going to be 1 fret down from the note. And the flatted seventh, or the regular seventh, is a half step, yeah. So if you want to find a major seventh, all we have to do is find the name of the chord, or the note that's the name of the chord, the C, and we move it down a half step. And the major seventh has kind of, if you listen to it, it's kind of cool. It's pretty, but it's kind of like a little bit dissonant at the same time, even though it's in the scale. It's used a lot in jazz and prettier songs. Look at me, I'm a helpless as a kitten up a tree. And then the dominant seventh has more of a blues sound to it. So here's a C major seventh. Don't let the sun get you crying. So it has kind of a pretty sound. A dominant seventh has a blues sound. And how you find that is you go, and rather than move down half a step from the name of it, we move down a whole step. So let's grab our ukes.
2 frets.
2 frets, yeah, 2 frets. So here's a C chord, right? We want to play major seventh. We know that this is the C note because it sounds like a C note because it's a strong one. We move it down. That's a C major seventh. And if we want to play a C7, and sometimes you'll hear that the Beatles use that. Okay, so they can pass by. But all you're doing is, in the chord, is if it's a major chord, you're going to play the 1, 3, 5, and you're going to add another note. So there's going to be a 4-note chord. It's going to be C, E, G, and if it's a major seventh, it'll be B, and if it's a dominant seventh, it'll be B flat. Everybody with me on that? Okay, let's look at the key. Let's look at a G. Okay, so what are we going to do? Rather than think up 7 notes to find out that the major seventh is F sharp, right? We're going to think backwards. Half step down from G is going to be F sharp. So we find our G note. So we can play like this, and that becomes a major seventh, and a blues seventh or dominant seventh. It'll be like that. And when you look at your music, it'll show you that this is a G7 for sure, right? The reason is, here's your note. That's a major seventh. It's a dominant seventh. Everybody with me?